Hey, this is Lee Swanner with Swanner Landscape and Irrigation. I wanted to show you today how to wire in your controller. We got a simple ESP TM2 Rainbird controller. It's very simple to operate and simple to wire in. All controllers, all electric controllers are going to be generally the same way to wire them in. You're going to have one common wire that runs to all of the valves, and we did that this week. We showed you how to wire valves in. We're using a white common, and that's this industry standard. A white is always going to be your common. You may run into situations where it's not, but it is supposed to be, because if it's not, and out in the field, you're going to run into complications trying to locate your common. If you've got a break in your common wire and you don't know where that is, the valve boxes are covered up, the junction boxes are covered up, you're going to have a hard time finding the problem. And so if you don't even know which wire it is, then if you don't have a valve locator or you don't have a multimeter, then and typically, homeowners may not have these things readily available. So remember that white is always going to be your common. And so you're going to see this C right there on the terminals. That terminal block, that C, represents your common, and that wire completes the circuit. See, each one of these valve wires has got to have a return wire. So one wire goes out and one wire comes back. But to mitigate the idea or the need for having a bunch of common terminals or a bunch of terminals coming back, you only have to have one. And that goes all the way to each valve. So when you wire your valves in, we showed this on another video, when you wire your valves in, one wire is going to come back to these terminal wires, and one wire is going to come back to this common. And so you take that one white common wire and go all to each of the valves. So you're going to tie in to each of the valves with that single wire. So you're just jumping from that common wire to each valve. But the other wires have got to be an individual wire to each individual terminal. And it's so simple. It's very easy, and it's easy to understand, and you just have to know the basics. So you got that one wire coming to your common. Okay, it's got a C there. And then you have this M is for a master valve. Most systems, typically residential systems, don't have a master valve, but that master valve is a different idea, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But you're going to skip that terminal. It says either M or MV on the terminal. You're going to skip that. So the number one valve, which is a colored wire, and like I said, I always like to start with red, yellow, blue, and green, and then any other wires, any other colors go on to the other terminals. So you may have 12 zones, you may have 24 zones, but you're going to start off with basically the colors of rainbow: red, yellow, blue, and green. So it's white to the common, and then your colored wires or your single strand. If you have single strand, they're all red, it doesn't matter. So you're going to put your wires on these common terminals, on these individual valve terminals, and that's it, man. I mean, you don't use your drill to do this either. You're going to use a regular Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to take that wire, and then you're going to set it up in there. You don't have to wrap it around there. You just stick it up in there and lock it down on there, and that's it, man. So common and valve wires all the way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This system has 6 zones in it. So I have 6 different colored wires. So I know that the brown wire out there, if I have my valves manifolded, I don't have to guess which one is which. I know that this valve, I turn on the solenoid manually out there, and that zone comes on. I see the wire coming off of it, and I talked about this last time too. Make sure that you leave your wire nuts and your wire in the valve box, okay? Because if you ever have to service it, you're going to have to dig up around those valve boxes to try to find your wire nuts where you're looking for a disconnected wire, a broken wire. And so, man, always make sure to do that when you're installing your system, because the problem is that you're going to run into a bunch of headache trying to figure out these wires and where your break is, where a wire nut's loose. And so we did that in another video. Make sure you look at that. But the wire in the controller, and it's so simple. White is your common, your colored wires or your single strand, whether they're all red or all pink or all blue or all yellow, because you can get wire in any color. They go into these terminal wires, okay? It's that simple. And so if that helps you at all, if I can do anything else for you, you just reach out to me, comment on the video, ask me a question. I'm happy to answer that. Thank you for tuning in.